Well, welcome everybody who has joined us this evening. I'm so happy to have you here. You are participating in Vegan 101. I'm Chef Linda. I am the director of the Compassionate Cuisine program at Catskill Animal Sanctuary, and that is our vegan culinary program. I know new people will be joining. Not everybody's on yet. We've got lots of folks joining, but I want to get started because we have so much to cover and I only have you for an hour. I wish I had you for like the whole night, for a week, but let me tell you how the night's going to go. We're going to spend about half the hour talking and kind of laying the groundwork for some discussion and for some questions. And then the other half, we're going to do a really fun cook along. If you're not cooking along, I invite you to watch anyway, because you'll see how it all comes together. And then you can make our beautiful, luscious vegan mac and cheese on your own time. And if you are cooking along, I hope you have your recipe out. You got your ingredients chopped and prepped and ready to go, because we'll move into that and we'll have a half an hour for that. So Catskill Animal Sanctuary, if you don't know us, is located in upstate New York. It's a couple hours north of New York City, and we are a home and a haven to hundreds of rescued animals. We've rescued from abuse and neglect. We provide home and care for them, but we also do educational programs like this, like our culinary program. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we do that so that we can inspire and empower people to live a compassionate life. And our goal is to help. So that's what we're here to do tonight. We're here to help. And we're going to move into just a few slides because I just want to set the tone and just stimulate some discussion. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and then Veronica, who is our wonderful moderator, is going to field questions that you can put in the chat. And after we go through a few slides, you'll have an opportunity to put your questions in. I'm going to answer as many as I can. I hope there's a lot. And what we can't answer, we'll make sure that we get to, and we'll make sure that we can connect. Okay, so let's get started. I want to talk about what living vegan isn't. If you're on this journey, you started, you're thinking about it, you've fallen off, you're coming back, wherever you are and wherever you're here, you've probably heard things about veganism. And I just wanted to talk about what it isn't first. And these are all things that you may have heard, right? It isn't hard. It's just shifting your mindset to focus on why you're going vegan instead of why you think you can't. It does require a change in some of the things you do, some of the things you buy, but it's not hard. It just requires you to shift the way you think about things. It isn't about deprivation. My God, there aren't enough days in my lifetime to eat all the wonderful things that I want to eat. It's not about deprivation. It is about inclusion. It's inclusion of so many foods that are out there, and we're eliminating just a few. We're eliminating meat, chicken, fish, dairy, and eggs. I can count them on one hand. And there are hundreds and thousands of foods out there that you can eat and you will eat. And veganism is a journey, and it's so exciting because it does stimulate a curiosity in cooking and wonderful new ingredients and exploring. And so it's fantastic. It's not about perfection. There are no vegan police. They will not be coming to your house. You know, if you had a piece of cake at Aunt Martha's 90th birthday that wasn't vegan, it's about intention. Veganism is about intention, and it's about what's in your heart. And you do things the way you do them, and you don't need to be perfect. So don't come down hard on yourself. It's not about faking it, right? The foods that we eat, the products that we buy, this is all about creating a new standard of living. If the first milk that we ever drank was almond milk or oat milk, like we wouldn't maybe be having this conversation, right? But it wasn't. And so we're setting a new standard of eating and living by replacing animal foods with foods that are made from plants. That's all it is. Our food is no less delicious. In fact, it's fantastic. And it isn't about fake things. It's just about a different way of doing things. It's not about judgment. You may whatever, you may judge yourself. You may feel resistance from people that are in your circle, in your family, your coworkers, whatever. You should not feel judged. This is about, again, following your heart and doing things your way. This is your life. Do them your way. And if you want to move in this direction, don't let anybody judge you for that. And it's certainly not about breaking the bank. There is this myth that veganism is so expensive. I encourage a diet based on lots of whole foods, just foods that you buy in the market, potatoes and carrots and beans and all kinds of stuff. Those foods are generally economical. You can stretch them a long way. They last a long time, and you can splurge where you want to on different ingredients, on restaurants, on vegan products that are out there, but it doesn't require you. You do not have to break your bank to become vegan. So let's talk about what veganism is. This is veganism. Now, I work for an animal sanctuary, and that's who, where my vantage point is coming from tonight. So it's a lot about ethical empathy, for animals. But whether you're here for the planet or for your body, one thing I can say is that it is joyful. Right? Veganism is joyful. Look, these are all images from our sanctuary. And one thing that is similar in here is that they're smiling. Everybody is smiling. The connection that you make with another creature of a different species is such a beautiful thing. And it brings out, it just breaks your heart right open. And that's why we have all these smiles. But it is simply a way of living with intention that is rooted in kindness towards the animals, towards your body, towards the planet. And that's what veganism is really about. So I have to, we have a short time together, we have things to cover, but I have to address this question first, because if you're here, if you told anybody you were coming to this webinar, maybe you've asked it yourself, the big question that we know everybody is thinking is, where am I going to get my protein, right? If I'm going to be a vegan, my God, I'm gonna have a protein deficiency. I'm here to reassure you, as are millions and millions of other vegans, that you will not die of a protein deficiency. You will not be protein deficient. This was just a funny thing I saw. Another day vegan, and I still haven't died of a protein deficiency. The millions of vegans out there, there is not an epidemic of protein deficiency in the world as the vegan movement grows and as more and more vegans choose to live this way. However, there are people there is an epidemic of chronic disease that is brought about by lifestyle choices in many cases. And many times those choices are linked to the foods we eat, animal foods. So I want to reassure you that you won't die of a protein deficiency. And I'll tell you where you're going to get your protein. You're going to get your protein from plants. Plants have all the protein that you need. Trust me. And I will tell you, I literally just had a physical. I have my blood work done. My protein is always right where it needs to be. And I do not think about protein. I'll be honest with you. I eat well, but I do eat a varied diet. I do eat lots of whole foods. And I just want to show you that even the vegetables in the upper corner there, you get protein from broccoli, you get it from potatoes, you get it from avocados and greens. You also get it from your beans and your greens. You get it from grains, which turn into pasta, right? So if you eat pasta, you get protein. You also get it from nuts and from seeds. And if you're looking at this and you're going, well, this doesn't look very exciting, right? I will tell you that these foods are used to make these foods, right? So these are images from our cookbook. I don't know if you can see this when I hold it up, but this is our cookbook, Compassionate Cuisine. These images are from the book. These are all recipes that I developed, that I've eaten, that hundreds, thousands of people have eaten, and I can tell you they're all delicious. We have cutlets, we have meatloaf, we have gravy, we have cannoli, we have Swedish meatballs. What's life without cheesecake, right? We have buffalo wings. So all those foods can be used to make these foods. And so you won't be lacking in protein, nor will you be lacking in variety or taste or excitement. So these are other foods, right? So we know that today is the best time to be vegan that ever was, because there's so many products on the market. This is just literally a few images I grabbed, but these products just represent the growth in the market, the fact that if you eat yogurt or butter or eggs or sausage or roasts or cheese, or pretty much anything else, there's a vegan food that is made from plants that you can use. And I wanted to show you, but I'll show you later. I have some products here, but these are available in most grocery stores today. They're not hard to find, and I would encourage you to try them. So your journey is starting, right? You came here, you signed up for this webinar, and I just want to give you some things to think about. Go at your own pace, please. Don't feel that, even if your heart is broken over what you've learned about the industry that produces the products that we eat from animals, go at your own pace. Don't let anybody rush you. Don't rush yourself. Start with one thing. Because people always say, well, where do I start? If you're eating meat, give up the meat. Give it up once a week, right? If you've done that, then maybe give up chicken, whichever order you want. Give up fish. And as you give things up, as you take them off your plate, look at what you're putting on your plate and let your diet and your menu and your kind of repertoire expand to fill what you've taken off. And if you do that at your own pace, you won't find it as difficult, you won't find it challenging, and you won't find it stressful. If you're vegetarian, I think there might be a lot of vegetarians in the audience. If you haven't been able to consider a life without cheese, without dairy, without eggs, try some simple swaps. There is absolutely no reason to be drinking milk from another species with all the milks there are. There's just so many choices today and so many brands, in addition to being able to make your own, just like that. Try taking one thing. Try taking your, I have a creamer here. Try taking the creamer in your coffee, if that's what you drink. Replace it. Replace sliced cheese, and do one thing at a time until you found the one you like, until you've worked it in, then move on to something else. It's completely possible to do this. And I say to keep an open mind, because you're not going to like everything, right? I mean, before you went vegan, before you were thinking about going vegan, you didn't like everything, right? You didn't like everything you eat or ate. So try something, and if you don't like it, move on, try something else. If you try, I don't know, a vegan cheese that you don't like, it doesn't mean all vegan cheese is horrible. Try another brand. Just keep an open mind and realize that we're not going to like everything, but we're going to find the things that we like. And from not just because I'm a chef, but just because I know how important it is, please cook. Please try to cook. Even if it's the simplest things, please do some cooking. Veganism, I feel like, is just such an exciting step to take, because once you start, you just, I don't know, it kind of lures you into the kitchen. And so if you're not a cook, don't be afraid that you haven't, been engaged in the kitchen that much before. You can do this. You can make simple things that are delicious. I teach it all the time. So you can do this, but please cook. You cannot live and thrive, in my opinion, on a diet that's made up of processed foods and restaurant foods. So eat out when you like, buy those cool vegan sausages and all those things, but don't subsist on them. Cook real food, and look at what's already vegan. Look at what you eat in a week. You probably have a lot of things that are vegan, right? So you probably, I don't know, maybe you eat pasta with vegetables and sauce. That's vegan, right? So you're probably eating a lot of vegan things already. And if something is close to being vegan, maybe you put Parmesan on something, I don't know, try a vegan Parmesan. You can shred that right on there. So look at what you already do, and then look at how you can make a few simple swaps. Ask for help. There are so many people out there who want you to succeed. We believe this is just a beautiful way to live. It's a way that the planet needs us to live, and we want you to succeed. So there are online groups, there are in-person groups, there are sanctuaries like ours, there are vegan chefs, there are friends, family, co-workers. There's so many people out there. So please don't use that as a reason to give up, that you can't find help. Reach out and we will make sure you get the help that you need. And if you're having a moment where things don't feel positive, somebody makes a comment, you maybe feel like, you slipped up or something, go back and remember your why you're doing this. Connect with the reason why you're doing this. And you just kind of pull yourself out of that, that dark place and get yourself right back on track again. And be kind to yourself. This veganism at its heart is really about compassion. And if you can't have compassion for yourself, what's the point, right? So you want to be kind to the animals, kind to the planet, kind to your body, be kind to your soul. Don't beat yourself up. You're here, you're listening, like, what a beautiful thing. So don't do that, okay? So we're here to help. We at Catskill Animal Sanctuary do lots of things and online. We have programs, we have tours where you can come in person and walk around and meet the animals. We also have these programs online. You can, book animals on call and invite us into your, into your staff meeting, into a birthday party, into your Thanksgiving maybe. So there's lots of fun ways to connect and learn a little bit about the animals. We have programs like our culinary program. So lots of things that we're doing just because we want to help. We have a homestead. We have a beautiful bed and breakfast on our property, a restored farmhouse, and you can come and stay and connect and eat delicious vegan breakfast. And it's a peaceful, magical place. We have cooking classes and cook-alongs. That's where I come in. I teach all year long. I teach online, and people have been so thrilled to be able to cook in their own home, in their own kitchen, and feed their family and friends. And it's been going so great. So there was a silver lining in COVID because we really found a need there. So there's that as well. We have our cookbook. We have information on their website. And we would ask you, reach out, let us know what would help you. And we will try and see what we can do to fill those gaps. So what time is it? So we are ready to talk turkey. So I'm so interested in hearing questions, concerns, anything that you want to talk about. And just remember, you're among friends. Nobody's here to judge you. So we want to help. So ask me some questions. I'm gonna share my screen here. Anybody have, let me get myself set up here. Okay.
So folks, if you have questions, hi, it's Veronica. What happened there? Are we okay?
Yes, that was me.
If anyone has questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and I will read them to Linda.
Okay, so you know what, so I see a question here.
We've got one already. What's the best way to turn vegan on a budget? Seems vegan products are very expensive.
Well, my personal opinion is that I don't buy a lot of vegan products. I use a lot of whole foods. I use like the mac and cheese we're going to make tonight, for example. We're using potatoes and carrots and onions and some chickpeas. So I don't spend a lot of money on products like that. There are lots of things. There's there's burgers and ribs and sausages and lots of things that can eat up your budget. And they're great transition foods. They're great for people who still want that taste, but I would urge you to look for recipes and look for ways to use regular staple foods, like regular foods you find in the grocery store that will last you. a long time. Rice and grains and pastas and beans and vegetables, they're all fairly economical, and I would start there and then supplement with products that you want to try.
Another great question. I can't eat mushrooms. Is there something else I can substitute?
Well, it depends what recipe you're talking about. I'm sorry that you can't eat mushrooms. It really depends on what you're doing with them. But like, for example, if you were, making gravy, omit the mushrooms. Like, just look for ways around using mushrooms. Mushrooms are like a really great, meaty ingredient to have and to work with. But there are certainly plenty of people out there who do not eat mushrooms for one reason or another. And if you give me an example of what you're trying to do that has mushrooms, I can steer you in the right direction. If you're we do mushroom stuffed mushrooms and stuffed portobello mushrooms and things like that. Anything that you can use to stuff your mushroom, stuff it in a potato instead. If you're making gravy, omit the mushrooms and you'll add some more seasonings and flavors. So if you have a specific question about a recipe, definitely email me and I'll see what I can do to help you. What else?
So far, it's all that was everybody so far. But
Okay.
Just to give people a little more time, a question that I had when I first went from vegetarian to vegan, when I absolutely loved all things tangy dairy, like sour cream and yogurt. And I tried to enjoy the vegan ones at first and just couldn't get into it. And then, after a little while, my palate adjusted completely. So what are some options that you like for people who are making that adjustment?
I would say that you brought up a good point. Like, a lot of what we do, what we eat, the idea is not always like we're not going to have it taste exactly the same, right? The idea is that these are different foods. So if you go into it thinking this is probably not going to taste exactly the same as the product that came from an animal, some people are actually happy about that. But it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment in your palate. So give yourself a little time to get used to new things, new tastes and new textures. And like I said earlier, keep an open mind and just try new things. Another thing I would say is sometimes what I find, going back to the question about how to do it without, breaking the bank, the products are expensive, I make a lot of things. So I would make my own sour cream. You can make sour cream out of tofu and some vinegar or lemon juice and a couple of seasonings, and you have your own sour cream, and you can adjust it to the tanginess that you like. You can do the same thing with nuts and seeds. So for every product that you can buy, you can probably make it at home. There's convenience that you pay for, and the ingredients that are probably less expensive go further that you can make it at home. So it's really what your trade-off is.
And then I think this can be the last one, so we can keep moving. But if more questions maybe roll in throughout, I will read them to you maybe at the end if we have time. Oh, wait, 2 more. I was just kidding, 2 more. What are some good breakfasts that can keep me full until lunchtime? And have you found a good recipe to replace eggs? I've seen options like tofu and chickpeas, but what about a fried egg?
Well, okay, so the first part of the question was about, tell me again what the first part was.
There were 2. I'm sorry, I crammed them both. And the first one was vegan breakfast that keep you full, and then the other one was eggs.
Okay, so for breakfast, I'll tell you, I really highly recommend smoothie. I try to have a smoothie every morning, and I put every good thing in there that I can. And no matter what happens to me the rest of the day, I know I got those good things in there. It's green, it's got grains and berries, simple things, whole foods, but it just fills me up. It literally fills me up. I have it about 11, and I'm pretty good until, a piece of fruit or something in the afternoon, or even dinner sometimes. So smoothie is really great. You can add nut butter in there to get protein, nuts or seeds to get your protein in there, if that's a concern of yours. I really, honestly, one of my go-tos is banana, nut butter, and like flaxseed. like love it. And I wrap it up in a tortilla and I take it to go. It's fantastic. I make granola. So that's another one. You could have it on a vegan yogurt. But going into the avocado toast, come on, let's call it out there. Avocado toast. We've all probably had it, but it's a great breakfast. Put a piece of tomato on top, put some scrambled tofu on top. So many great things. And as far as the egg substitutes, this is one, I just happened to have bought it to show you, just egg. This is crazy stuff. This is made from beans, mung beans, which are delicious little beans. But this scrambles up just like an egg. I wanted to make it for you tonight, but we just don't have the time to do all this. But this is so cool. You put some cheese on it, put it on a roll or a bagel, and you have like an egg and cheese. And it is amazing stuff. So that is a good substitute. And when this came on the market, it was probably, in some stores, it was close to $10 for a bottle. I don't know what happened, but they've come down. This was 3 something. And yes, Carolyn, beans make a great breakfast too. Beans are full of protein, and I like black beans on like an avocado toast also. I mean, there's just, you don't have to have like oatmeal. You don't have to kind of lock certain ingredients into certain times of the day. You have them whenever you feel like it, and beans are a great breakfast food. So this is a great egg substitute. You can make crepes from chickpea flour and a few other ingredients. There's plenty of recipes online to do that. That's always fun to have, an egg crepe with that. And tofu scramble. They're fantastic. You couldn't find an easier thing to do. You can, chop up some onion and garlic and fry it up in the pan and crumble your tofu in there and put some seasonings. I will tell you, let me tell you this, since you asked. If you like tofu scramble, this is black salt. It's actually pink, but they call it black salt. You can buy a bag. It'll last you your entire life, I bet. It has a sulfur taste to it. So I use this if I make a tofu scramble, and it gives you that egg taste. It's amazing. Yes, it's also called, yes. But I'm going to call it black salt. And it does amazing things to tofu. And I'm going to tell you also nutritional yeast. So these are products like this you don't have to buy, but it'll last you the rest of your life, and you'll use it occasionally. Nutritional yeast is a product that's like pantry product, and it is used in lots of things. It is not processed, really. It's just this inactive yeast. It won't make your bread rise or anything. It's this flaky yellow stuff, and they grow it on like sugar beets and sugar cane, I think. And it has this cheesy taste to it. It's loaded with B vitamins. This is just one brand, Red Star, but it has lots of B12 in it, which you might have heard that you need to supplement. So it's great on popcorn, absolutely. I use it in tomato sauce, in soups, in stews, in scrambles. I use it when I make vegan cheese. So this is one thing of all the things. Like I say, you don't need to buy a lot. I would buy this. This was maybe $5, and it lasts a long time. So I think it's a great product to have. And so, yeah, so there's some substitutes for eggs. The fried egg, I know there are recipes. I've seen them on TikTok and on Instagram, and I haven't gotten a chance to make them yet. Yes, and you're right, Carolyn, Trader Joe's, much cheaper. If you have Trader Joe's near you, yes. But they do. People have figured out how to make like a fried egg. And so I haven't done it yet, but you can go look online. You can make anything, I'm telling you. And I just, I know we have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to show you, so if you stock your pantry with just grains, use canned beans, right? I have canned beans, I have dried beans, I have pastas, I have grains, but I also have things like, tomato sauce, vegan, olives, vegan. I love to have artichoke hearts. They're great with pasta. I blend these with white beans and garlic and some nutritional yeast, and I make a cream sauce and Alfredo sauce out of them. They're fantastic. How about risotto? Vegan, right? So many of the foods that we're used to seeing are already vegan. And there are other things. There are butters, lots of different kinds of butters made with different ingredients. This is Melt. This is another butter called Earth Balance. This one's good for baking because it comes in stick form. Vegan mayonnaise, there is no reason not to eat vegan mayonnaise. It tastes exactly the same. And even Hellmann's is in on the game. You cannot tell the difference. There is cream cheese. Plenty of sliced cheeses to try. If you're making grilled cheese, leave your cheese out at room temperature and it'll melt and it'll be fantastic. I always say that's a tip, but these are amazing. You know, this is cheddar, there's provolone, there's American, and I'm not a big cheese eater, but it's nice to have around once in a while. We all know Violife, right? This is their feta cheese. This is amazing stuff. There's vegan yogurts, right? Anything you can eat vegan. All kinds of flavors, all kinds of brands. And even there's so many things like my pantry I was talking about, but here's like these products like this. It doesn't say vegan, but it's accidentally vegan, we call it, because there's no animal products in it. So just read your labels, but start with the obvious things. I don't want to tell you to start scrutinizing labels, and I'll start with the easy things, start with big steps, and I will guarantee you that you will start this journey and you won't be sorry you did. So it is 6:30. I know we got to get cooking. So I'm going to lead some folks who are cooking, making a recipe. I will tell you that you can, if you're not cooking, you can certainly watch. And if you're tuning out, just realize tomorrow you're going to get an email from me. I'm going to say I love you and I'm so glad you came tonight. But we're also going to include a code, a discount code, so you can get our cookbook with a nice discount. It's great for the holiday season. All the proceeds go to the sanctuary. And we're going to give you a code so you can try one of our cooking classes. There's so much fun, and Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm doing Ethiopian next week. So you can take a class and try it for free and cook along with me and just see how fun it is. And I think we're going to give you also a video from the cheese class that I did. So you can make like, I think 5 or 6 different cheeses, and you can watch the video and see how that's done, and you can get the recipe packet and all that. So we really are so grateful that you joined us. I know there's a lot of new people here. Some familiar faces, friends, and names that I'm aware of, but I'm so glad you joined. Please reach out to me if I can answer questions, if I can help you along, if I can get you started or get you on track or make this feel okay for you. So reach out to me. I'll email you all that stuff tomorrow. I do hope to see you again in a cooking class or in another event that we do. And I do hope you stay and watch this amazing mac and cheese we're going to make. Okay, so are we okay to get started, Veronica? Anything lingering that we want to address?
We are good. Get going. I can't wait to see this mac and cheese.
Okay, so everybody who's sticking around and who's cooking with me, I love this part, right? This is the best part. So mac and cheese tonight, I chose this recipe because we're not using like store-bought vegan cheese or products like that. We're using vegetables. And I wanted this to be something that was, that you could find easily. So I think what I want to do is, how do I go? I want to go to a grid view so I could see if anybody is there and anybody's cooking. Let's see, how do I do that?
If you go up to the top right and hit view, yes, and then change to gallery, you should be all set.
Okay, so Carolyn, I know you're ready to go. And I don't know, a lot of folks have their cameras off if you're cooking. Hi, Catherine. We're gonna get started. So what I want you to do first, you have the recipe. I hope you have your ingredients out and ready to go. The first thing I want you to do is you're gonna get a pot. I'm using a big pot and fill it up with water and put it on because we need to get our pasta water boiling. And we all know that a washed pot never boils. So I want to get that going. I season it with a little salt. I think that's important unless you have a medical reason not to. I would encourage you to do that. So the next thing we're going to do, this sauce comes together just in 2 steps. And what I'm going to do is we're going to take some vegetables and we're going to boil them and get them nice and soft. And then we're going to put some other ingredients in a blender, and all together, this is going to make this luscious, beautiful cheese sauce. So I've got my cooktop here, and I'm starting with carrots, and my dog is clearly hungry for mac and cheese. I've got carrots, and if you notice, I kind of cut them a little bit on the thin side because carrots are dense, right? We want to have them cook quickly, and so we cut them small. So I'm putting those in my pot. I am also going to put some potatoes in here. You can use, I usually like to use thin-skinned potatoes, but it doesn't really matter. And this is going to go right in our pot. And you can see that these don't have to be quite as small because potatoes aren't as dense as carrots. So we want things to cook at the same time. The next thing I'm going to put in is my onion. So I took a half an onion and I chopped that up. So the other nice thing about this is if you're eating non-vegan mac and cheese, there's really not a lot of redeeming qualities in it, right? But in this version, you're getting all these vegetables in here. In fact, I created this recipe because I wanted my son to eat vegetables and he didn't want to. So I turned him into cheese and he loves it. And he's 20 and he's still eating it. So I'm going to put my onions in here. And then I've got some garlic. Onions and garlic, very good for your immune system. So this time of year in particular, and with everything going on, good to cook with a lot of those ingredients. So I'm going to add some vegan milk, plant-based milk. It's unsweetened. It's unflavored. It's not vanilla. You can, now this is one product I did want to show you that this is like a simple swap, right? Instead of using milk in a recipe, you just buy your plant-based milk. This is new. I've never tried this one. Simply almond. It has virtually no ingredients in there, which is what I like. It's so easy to make your own as well. But I'm going to pour about 2 cups. And what I'm trying to do, depending on the size of your pot, we just basically want to make sure that the vegetables are pretty much covered. You know, you might need less than 2 cups. Once you push everything down, it shouldn't be swimming in liquid or completely, underwater here, as it were. So I've got that on, and I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of oil. You could use a vegan butter. I showed you a couple of brands before. Oil is a healthier choice in a lot of ways because it's simple, but vegan butter made from lots of different ingredients that you could try. So try some of those. Whichever you prefer. So I'm going to put a couple tablespoons. You could also go oil-free. This just adds to the kind of mouthfeel that you're used to maybe from cheese. So I am going to put this on. I'd like you to put this on high, medium high, because we want this to come to a boil pretty quickly. We don't want to put that on so low that it takes a long time to boil. So I'm going to turn this way up. I'm going to encourage you, and I'm right here, and you're going to be right there so you can watch it. And then I'm going to move this over, and we're going to talk about our blender ingredients. And let's make sure your water is on high also because we want it boiling as soon as possible so that we can throw in our pasta. So I'm using a blender. You could use a food processor for this. But I'm going to show you how to do the nut Parmesan. So I didn't want to have to wash this. So I'm going to use a blender. I prefer the blender anyway. And
Linda, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Where did you find Simply Almond?
Inquiring
minds must know.
I know. Where did I find that? I think it was Stop and Shop or ShopRite. I'd never seen it before. And I was like, there's no carrageenan, there's no guar gum, there's no some of the other, emulsifiers that they use, oils and things. What I don't like is that it comes in plastic, but I'll reuse that container for watering my plants and stuff. But, it's the first time I saw it. So I thought I'd try it. It's pretty good. It's really nice. So if you're watching, you can also make your own nut milk. It's usually a ratio of 1 cup nuts or pumpkin seeds or hemp seeds to 3 cups of water, depending on what you're using it for. I like to put a pinch of salt in there if I'm using it in a savory recipe, and that's it. I blend it in a blender. That's it. That's all you need to make nut milk. If you're making it for something sweet, like on your cereal, I like to throw a few dates in there, maybe some cinnamon, and maybe I put in a little vanilla. Now you just made nut milk for your oatmeal. So really easy to do and economical too. So I'm going to put chickpeas in here, right? Chickpeas have lots of protein, lots of fiber, lots of good stuff. This is a can of chickpeas. I rinsed it and I drained them, and that helps to reduce the salt. But you know, make sure you have beans in your cabinet, right? I like to buy dried beans and soak them. All I do is like throw them in a bowl, put some water on them, leave them for a few hours, drain it, and then cook them. And that is an economical way to have a lot of beans. There's a different texture that I prefer, but trust me, I use canned beans. And in this recipe, since we're blending it all up, canned is fine. You could use white beans here and cannellini beans. You could use canned butter beans. Anything that's light in color would work just fine. Checking my water here. Check your pot with your other ingredients in here, which is getting nice and hot. So that's our beans. And I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. So we were just talking about nutritional yeast. It's a flavoring, it's a savory ingredient. And this I bought at ShopRite. That's my closest store. So I do, and I teach, right? And I teach a lot of different classes. I do most of my shopping at ShopRite because it's nearby and it's economical. I don't have to shop at Whole Foods or any fancy stores. Just about every ingredient I need is in my regular grocery store. So like I said, this was like about $5.50 for this container. Trader Joe's is less expensive if you happen to have Trader Joe's, but I'm putting in a 1/4 cup, and that's going to help give us that nice cheesy flavor. I'm going to do a little bit of lemon juice here. Lemon, you know, most cheeses, if you think about it, they have a little tanginess to them, right? Different levels of it. Lemon juice will give us a nice brightness, a nice tanginess to it. And I'm just squeezing in a 1/2 of a lemon. Okay. Then I'm going to add in some good old mustard. So I just want to show you, like, here you go. This is vegan. It's mustard, right? So it's nothing fancy. It's 99 cents at ShopRite. And it's just not a fancy mustard. So I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons, and I'm not even measuring. I just kind of know what a teaspoon looks like. There you go. And that is what you would find in a non-vegan recipe. You'd find mustard. I'm going to add a little turmeric. I'm going to add a little turmeric, and turmeric kind of comes like this. This is a piece of turmeric root. And you can see how bright orange it is. I throw this in my smoothie every morning. It's so good for inflammation, for brain health and all that. But this is the ground version. And this is going to give us a nice, kind of like that familiar orange cheddar cheese kind of look to it. But it's going to do it in a way that's actually benefiting our health. So I'm putting in about 3/4 of a teaspoon. You don't want to overdo it. And again, like your spice, so just on another note, your pantry is important, right? So that you can kind of whip up a meal at a moment's notice that's vegan, but your spice rack is also important. So, you know, I have things like cumin, cinnamon, red chili pepper flakes, pepper, definitely pepper, black pepper, celery salt. Like I have just a lot of things. So when you buy them for a recipe, you'll keep using them. So, you know, don't worry about buying it for one thing. You'll find that you'll use these spices up and they last a long time. So let's see. My potatoes and my carrots are almost coming to a boil here. I see them starting to bubble a little bit. Anybody else? You guys have your pictures off. Catherine, are you cooking? Can I ask you? You are. Okay, good. Carolyn, you're cooking. So my pasta water is hot and almost coming to a boil. I have all my ingredients in here. The last thing I need to add is salt. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt in there, and that's it. So I've been talking, right? But if you were making this at home, you're boiling a few vegetables, you're putting a few ingredients in your blender, and it's really not, I haven't done anything complicated. There's no fancy technique here, right? So I'm gonna move my blender out of the way. And while these are coming to a boil, I'm gonna just make that nut Parmesan. And you don't need to make that. You could toast up some breadcrumbs if you wanted. So if you had a pan with a little oil or vegan butter and maybe some powdered garlic, you could toast up breadcrumbs that you could serve on top of your mac and cheese. If you wanted to bake your mac and cheese, you could put the breadcrumbs on it and put it in the oven. But the nut Parmesan is just, I don't know, it's like a very nutritious and delicious way to have a little variety, a little texture. So I'm going to move my cooktop and I'm going to bring over my food processor because that's how we're going to make our Parmesan. They say, I've read something that it's most people, you only really turn to like 9 or 10 recipes over and over and over and over again. Those who are very curious, they'll, you know, like me, will try lots of things, and that's part of my job, but it's part of my nature. But if you were thinking about going vegan or you're on this path, 9 or 10 recipes that you can like nail, you'll be in good shape. You'll be in very good shape. So water's coming. Let me just check. This is taking a long time for this to boil. But we're almost there. Let me just give these a stir. Okay. So into this. So you could. This is we call it a nut Parmesan. But this version I'm making is made with Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are so good for you. They're very good for prostate health. Men, if you're out there, very important for prostate health. We eat one a day, but they're just like another nut to have in the house. I put these in my smoothie also. So I have a cup of Brazil nuts and I'm putting them in here. And again, I'm using nutritional yeast because it's going to give us that cheesy kind of flavor. I'm going to add, that's about 1/3 of a cup of nutritional yeast. And then add a few cloves of raw garlic. If you feel like raw garlic might be a little much for you, use a little garlic powder. That works really well, and not too much because garlic powder is very concentrated, but I like the kind of bite and freshness that I get from raw garlic. So I'm going to put a few cloves in there. That's it. That's all it takes. So I'm going to just pulse this up. If you have one of those little mini blenders, what do they call it? Like the Magic Bullet, that's a good, this recipe works well in those also. And in terms of kitchen equipment, I would just tell you, if anybody has it on their mind, what's the most important thing to have, or as you're building your kitchen, I think probably aside from your cookware and those kinds of things and a good knife, a couple of good knives that do not have to be expensive, I think it's the food processor. I love my blender. I use it frequently. But the food processor makes your life easier. It chops your onions, your carrots, your celeries, it blends things, it does a lot of things. So if you're thinking about a piece of kitchen equipment for the holidays, I would think about a food processor. This is a Cuisine, it's nothing fancy. So I'm gonna pulse this up. For my pasta is boiling. So let me just put that in first. So I'm just using regular pasta. This is vegan. It's vegan, right? So This is tiny little shells. You could use macaroni. You could use whatever pasta you want, because when you're putting a cheese sauce on it, it really doesn't matter, right? But I like to double this recipe, and I made 2 boxes of this, and I often give one away or I freeze it, and it's just nice to have. So I'm putting this in the water. That'll take about, what do they say, 10 minutes or whatever pasta you have. Look at your directions. This says 8 minutes. So we want to keep that on high so that it comes back to a boil. You know, and you don't have to use this sauce on macaroni, although it is delicious. It's a great sauce to use on a baked potato with broccoli. We use it on nachos. Oh my God, we make nachos with black beans and salsa. We put avocado. We put, what else do we put on there? Pickled jalapenos and just put like lovely cheese sauce on top. So if you make this and you don't use it all in your pasta tonight, save some, make some nachos this weekend. I'm sure there's a good game on or something, right? Or a good movie. So let me finish pulsing my nut Parmesan. Nice and crumbly now. Oh my God, it even smells so, I can't even talk fast enough to tell you that those few ingredients, nuts, nutritional yeast, and a little garlic. Oh, let me put a little salt in. I didn't put the salt in. So it's like a little, quarter teaspoon of salt in there. That you can smell it. It's, oh my God, this smells so, so good. So simple. And this will last you, if you used garlic, fresh garlic, keep it in your fridge, and it will last, I don't know, easily a month. You probably won't have it a month though, because you'll use it on top of all kinds of things. And I see a couple big pieces in here, so let me just, okay, so this is what it looks like when it's done. It has this nice, let me see if I can put it in a bowl so you can see it. It has this beautiful crumbly texture. It has a beautiful scent. Let me lift the lid on my pot here. And so this is a beautiful Parmesan you can put on pretty much anything. And I had a spoon. Here's my spoon. I'm just going to taste it. You always taste before you serve. Oh my God. I don't make this often enough. If you make nothing else and you need something easy, try this. It's a beautiful, beautiful taste. So let's move that out of the way. We're going to put that on top. Our pasta's boiling. Let's give it a stir. Now, in the recipe, I called for peas. You could use edamame beans, right? Edamame are the immature soybeans. You could put broccoli in there. Just put it in a little bit earlier, or use frozen broccoli in there. You could use cauliflower. It's just nice to add some vegetables to the pasta, because not only does it stretch the recipe, we were talking about budgets before, and trying to do things that are in an economical way, but it just adds even more nutrition, right? So I'm going to add those in a few minutes. But in the meantime, we're going to move the cooktop back over because my vegetables have been boiling. Let me just slide this over. And so, I don't know, did I see this already? But if you didn't want to use plant milk for this, if you wanted to use vegetable broth, you could absolutely use vegetable broth to make this. I've done it plenty of times. And you could also use water. I've done it with water. I wanted to do it tonight to show you the milk and show you, but it really comes out deliciously creamy. And this is that's just another way to, if you're on a budget and you don't want to be buying plant milks, use vegetable broth. A lot of recipes you could substitute vegetable broth. And if you really want to talk budget cooking, save all your scraps, save your kale stems, save your carrot peels, save your, did I say onion peels? Save your scraps, throw them in the freezer. And then when you have a little bag of them, just throw a pot of water on and throw it all in there and let it boil, for 20 minutes, a half an hour, just simmer it and strain it. And you have a beautiful, fresh vegetable broth. It's full of goodness and doesn't have all kinds of other stuff in it. So I would encourage you to do that if you're thinking about, how to eat economically. So these are almost tender. My pasta is, let me just taste it. I'm using shells, not spaghetti, so I can't throw it against the wall. So I'm gonna actually have to. I think that's done. Just almost done. So now I'm gonna just toss my peas in. So I have, my 2 cups of peas, or whatever vegetable you want to use. I'm tossing them in there. And they were brought to room temperature, so they were thawed, but those were frozen. And this will just kind of brighten them up and cook them for just a moment. And then we're going to strain. I'm using a wire mesh strainer over my sink. And I would tell you that if you're draining your pasta and you're not saving some cooking water, you're missing out. My pot is overflowing. You're missing out on a really good base for soups and stews and chilies and things like that. So when you drain your pasta in a colander or in a sieve, catch like a cup of it, put a Tupperware under there and capture it. You can use it to thin out your cheese sauce. You can use it to thin out another sauce, or you can use it to start a soup. It has lots of flavor. It has starch in it. It has some seasoning in it. So definitely want to do that. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So I'm putting this over the sink. And I am going to drain my pasta and my peas right into there. Let me move my little cup out of the way that captured all my nice pasta water. And that you could even freeze. You could just take your pasta water, freeze it for a time when you're going to be making soup, freeze it for the holidays, use it in your gravies and things. Wish. Okay, so I just drained my pasta and peas. You can see that. Now I'm dripping all over the counter. But there you go, right? Steaming hot. Now what's left is the sauce. So my vegetables should be ready. I'm not sure if yours are. My potatoes are, my carrots are soft. My potatoes are soft. Everything looks cooked. If yours aren't done, just don't be impatient. Let them cook for a few more minutes. But what I'm going to do is turn that off. I have to find a cooktop that isn't loud. And so I'm going to take these vegetables and put it into the blender. And what I would urge you to do is to take your blender top and take out the knob. Usually there's a knob in here. If you're using a food processor and you have this kind of lid, take this piece out. What you don't want to create is a pressure situation with a lot of hot steam in there. Because that is dangerous, right? I don't want to lose anybody. So take the knob out of your thing and we're going to put a little dish towel over this part way to keep it from splattering, but also to allow the steam to come out. If you wanted to, you could let this cool a little bit. But the nice thing about this is I'm taking these hot vegetables, putting them in the blender. My pasta is hot. I don't need to put the sauce back on. I don't need to recook it. It's already cooked. We're ready to go. So I'm just pouring this in here. Milk and all. I'm gonna move that out of the way. And then my blender is back here because it's so loud, but I'm gonna take my pot holder and I'm just gonna cover the top of it like that. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's steams escaping. And you just want to allow your steam to come out. So let me put it on the blender. Make sure your blender is on the low settings. It's not turned up high for when you're making your smoothie, because that would be unfortunate. Sauce, huh? Happens to even the chefs. Look at that. See that? So, but I'm glad I had it open, because we would have had a lot of steam going on there. So now, let's see if I can get this camera view good. There, where are you? So that is a blender full of delicious sauce made from potatoes, carrots, and beans primarily. It's glossy, so when you're blending it, blend it long enough that it's shiny. Like, don't just blend it and leave it kind of chunky. It has to be completely like pureed, emulsified. Before you put it on your pasta, taste it, right? Always taste along the way. That way, if you forgot to put the salt in, or you forgot to put something else in, you'll know it and you can fix it. Much easier to fix now than later. So this is really hot, but I'm gonna taste it. This is like, I just want to, this is creamy, thick, really rich. Oh, that is delicious. So now I'm gonna pour this on my pasta. I'm probably not gonna pour all of it. I'll probably pour like, I don't know, 2/3, 3/4, something like that. The pasta is gonna absorb the sauce, so it might look like an incredible amount of sauce here. However, your pasta will start to kind of suck that up pretty quickly. Now, if you were going to bake this, because you could easily pop this into a casserole dish if you wanted to, and bake it, you might want to layer some sauce on the top. So that is gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna add a little more. Now, let me get just a little bowl and just show you with our beautiful mac and cheese with our beautiful nut Parmesan. Where's my nut Parmesan? Let me add some of that. So I wish, if you're not cooking, I really wish that you were here with me so I could feed you. This is this little beautiful garnish on top. This was really easy to do. I hope you see that. And let's see what it tastes like, people. So no cheese, no animals, good, nutritious food. And this is just like one of our all-time favorites. Macaroni and cheese, a perennial comfort food for pretty much everybody. And you can do it without using dairy. Look at Carolyn. How is it, Carolyn? You're eating it? She loves it. Let's see. If we can eat like this without using animal products, without harming animals, why wouldn't we, right? This is delicious, nutritious, fun to make, and economical too. So I see the only other person that can see everybody as their camera's off is Catherine, and she just poured her pasta. I saw that. She's got her sauce ready to go. I want to wait until you taste it.
Well, in the meantime, we actually just got a question. Can you eat the sauce as a soup?
Do you know, I eat gravy as a soup. I have never thought about eating the cheese sauce as a soup. I don't know why you couldn't. I mean, it's I don't know. Let's see. let me put a soup hat on and consider it from that perspective. It almost looks like a carrot coconut soup. You know, it has that kind of creamy look to it, but I mean, yes, of course you could. You could eat it as a soup, and you could also put the nut Parmesan on top of it as kind of a garnish. And yes, you could also make this if you want to be seasonal and you wanted to use butternut squash. You could definitely replace the carrots with butternut squash. That's also delicious. I wouldn't use sweet potatoes because sweet potatoes kind of in my mind, have a pronounced taste. So it kind of really doesn't taste like mac and cheese. It's still delicious. It just kind of announces itself a little more than carrots or butternut squash. And Carolyn says you could, I didn't see that. You can thin it out. Yes, you could thin it out with the pasta water and you can have a thinner soup. You're absolutely right. I love this recipe. And you could add hot sauce to it, buffalo sauce to it, that kind of thing. You could, you could add red chili flakes if you wanted to. So the recipes that, I teach, that you read, try them, make them, and then make them your own. Like, make it the way you want. Like, you're eating it, and eating is a joy, a privilege. And so eat it the way you would like to eat it. So with that, Catherine, what do you think?
It's delicious.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm glad you cooked along. I'm glad you made it. And for anybody else who's cooking along, I hope you find it delicious. That was a recipe from our cookbook, and has lots of other great recipes. So it's 7, and this hour went so fast for me, and I'm really so grateful that everybody tuned in. So grateful for your attention, that you're thinking about eating with compassion, that you look to Catskill Animal Sanctuary to provide you with some information, some support. And I'm grateful for coming into your kitchen this evening. What a great gift that is. So please don't be a stranger. If you're new to me and new to us, don't be a stranger. I'm going to send you that email tomorrow. Email me back. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me what challenges you're having. Take a class. Just don't be a stranger. You're on this journey, and we are all in this together. And it's a good journey to be on. So thank you for coming tonight. I really value your time. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, Kat.